Hi, my name is Tim Gard. I've been discussing and pointing out numbers of different ways that you can compress air. The one I would like to cover right now is a very major source. May not be obvious unless somebody pointed it out to you and gave you a reason for doing it. But once you understand what the high peg system is and how this particular device would function with the high peg, the understanding of how much energy is available naturally really comes to light. The area that I'd like to talk about is located in the northeastern part of the North American continent. It is a bay off of the Atlantic Ocean referred to as the Fundy Bay. If you're not aware of this, go on the internet and search on Fundy Bay and verify what it is I'm about to tell you about Fundy Bay, if that makes you feel better about it. But you really need to have an understanding of what's happening there. I'll give you my explanation, my description of it, and you can verify this when you follow up with it. Fundy Bay is a hook of land out into the Atlantic Ocean that covers several hundred miles out and creates an inlet referred to as Fundy Bay. What happens is when the moon goes up above the north poles of the Earth, it causes a tidal rise northward of the Atlantic Ocean. Fundy Bay is kind of like a cup that's set into a running stream of water with the opening facing where the water is coming from. The water would run down the stream and force its way into the cup, and the level of the water inside the cup, because of that water hitting it, would be well above the surface of the water that it's setting in the creek. And this is what happens at Fundy Bay. When the moon pulls the Atlantic Ocean northward, the ocean presses the water up into Fundy Bay, and up at the head of Fundy Bay, the level of the water when the moon is pulling it up rises by 30 feet. This is a 30-foot vertical height rise, and then holds it up in there as long as the moon's gravity is pulling on the water up into it. And then as the moon moves back around, as the day progresses, the moon circles the Earth twice a day. As it goes back down towards the south, the gravity releases all of this water and it goes back out into the Atlantic Ocean, and the depth of the water at the head of the bay drops by 30 feet. So basically, if you had a boat anchored up at the head of the bay, in the beginning of that water entering the bay, your boat would be sitting down on dry earth. 12 hours later, the boat would be sitting on top of water that was 30 feet deep. From what I understand, the amount of water pulled into this bay is equivalent or greater than all of the water held in all 5 of the Great Lakes. That's a rather substantial amount of mass to move, especially twice a day. If mankind tried to do that, it would take them years to do that once rather than 2 times in a single day. So there's a tremendous amount of energy here that's interjected by the gravity of the moon. And if we could figure out a way to put it in a bottle and sell it on the shelves, we would have a very popular product. basically that's what we're doing with the high-peg system. We are making it so that this change in elevation will allow us to compress air and then insert that compressed air into the high-peg unit to generate electricity. The best part about it is that we can store this compressed air in containers until it's ready for use. We don't have to wait for the tide to change to compress the air that we're going to use, because we can store it while it is being compressed and then use it as needed. There's a number of different ways that you could do this, some more grandiose than others, but you could simply take a container like a boat and tie it to cables hooked up to compressors, and you could hang as many compressors on it as you wanted to, as long as you didn't slow it down so much that the water would overtake the container. Or if you sealed the container up so that if it ended up underwater, it wouldn't lose the air inside, and it would continue to float up to the top, pulling on the compressors and compressing more air and putting it into storage. Then once the container got all 30 feet in altitude on top of the water, you would fill that container with water to the point where it would just about sink. And then as the water went down, you would have the mass of the water in this container again pulling down on the compressors, and you would compress air again as the tide went out. So this unit would compress air 4 times during the day, twice in the morning when the tide came in and went out, and twice at night when the tide came in and out. You would affect the nature of the bay very little. You would not be causing any changes in temperature in the water that would hurt the flora or fauna. You would not be changing the water chemically at all. You would not be causing any radical physical changes in the bay itself that would affect the flora or fauna. This would be a completely natural installation, and you could install as many of them as you wanted. If you wanted to open the bay up further into a docking type area, the moon would simply pull the additional amount of water up necessary to fill that newly excavated area. So you could keep all of this basically offshore, away from the natural building of that. So now you get into something that we talked about before. If you recalled in the previous video, I was talking about the Tennessee National Gas Pipeline. If you were to build a similar pipeline across the Canadian continent, and then insert all of this compressed air into that pipe, anywhere along that pipe you could install a high-peg unit. You could generate electricity there for the local area, and if the population of the local area increased, you would simply add another high-peg unit and produce more electricity for that local area. You may be in a local area where there is a good relatively constant wind speed, where you could insert a wind turbine and compress air with that and put air back into that line if it was necessary. You could install a solar panel and hook up electric motors to it and run compressors again to put air into this pipeline. You could install large air tanks along this pipeline next to your high-peg units, so that you could have an immediate reserve air supply for immediate demand. that wouldn't cause the air pressures to drop too quickly in the supply lines. If you recall, I was talking about the Tennessee gas pipeline. They do this with natural gas to prevent pressures from dropping too quickly in local areas due to high demand. Okay, I think you've got a pretty good idea of what the potential of the Fundy Bay is as far as gathering energy for development of the HYPAG project. Um, if you have an interest in this scientifically and you simply want to be involved in it as far as watching what's going on or having conversations or asking questions, I welcome you to stay in touch with us, and if you have any questions, submit your questions. If you see a problem, point it out. I've been known to make mistakes from time to time, and have had people take the time, make the effort to point the mistake out to me, which the only thing worse than a mistake without an effort to find a solution is a mistake that you don't know about at all. Because if you don't know about it, then you can't find a solution. So, you see something wrong, speak up. If I disagree with you, I will try to explain why I disagree and encourage you to continue to explain to me why you think I'm wrong. Sometimes the only way to solve a problem is just to keep banging at it, and while banging at it sometimes frustrates everybody, sometimes that's what's necessary in order to solve a problem. So if you have a question, fire me off an email or reach out to me one way or another, and let's get at that problem. From the standpoint of if it's I welcome you to watch what we're doing and watch these videos for your own curiosity and whatnot. The more people that are involved in it, the more fun it makes the project. I welcome you to do so. From a standpoint of those of you who may have the money to invest in these projects, first of all, there is rarely an opportunity like this that we would get to become involved in something that would have such a huge impact on the human race. I'm having some trouble with the timing between the audio and the video here, and I really don't want to screw around with it, so I'm going to just do the best I can with this, and maybe solve that problem another day. Anyway, if you're watching this and you are interested in this science, I welcome you to contact us and ask any questions or make any observations. The more people that are involved in this, the more interesting it is. From the standpoint of investors, if you think that you might like to be involved in this and have an impact on the human race that would last for thousands of years, I invite you to step along and follow through with us in getting this accomplished. Financially, if you want to go off on your own and build your own complete unit, I will provide as much information as I can to help you do so. Or if you would like to step up alongside of me and help me financially do the first build, I would welcome that also. If you have an interest in becoming involved in this financially, you can reach out to me through my email, dragmit@roadrunner.com. That's DRAGMIT @roadrunner.com. And then I will get back to you, and let's see if we can't throw our shoulder into the wheel and get this thing up and running and solve this problem for the human race with renewable energy.